Okay, welcome to the audience and whoever wants to watch this and decide it's better than Netflix, which it obviously is. Today I'm joined by Shalto Schoeman from Raven Defense, Strategic Defense, and Gideon Joubert from Paratus. Both guys are well known in the industry in South Africa and even internationally. Not always loved, but at least known. We're going to discuss a little bit about a new trend that's taking off in South Africa with regards to tactical training. Everybody wants tactical training, and everybody wants to teach tactical training, and everybody wants to have tactical training. And we just want to discuss a little bit about where does this fit in. Right, so I think first let's head over to Gideon and hear his inputs on this whole story. Gideon?
Hi, Dion and Shalto, and it's lekker being here, and I think this is a really good discussion to have, and it's one that's very necessary, especially in the present climate pertaining to farm attacks and rural safety and security and whatnot. And you see a lot of this tactical training marketed quite aggressively towards farmers in the farming community. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, tactical training, and we'll get into a definition of what tactical means in a moment. But I'm referring specifically to sort of house penetration, team-based fire and movement, house penetration, squad-based tactics, fighting in around vehicles, that sort of stuff. And a lot of the stuff that's being marketed, from what I can gather from a lot, if not the vast majority of participants and students, are people that don't even have their most basic fundamental skills under control or at a level of proficiency that would make attending these types of courses worth it, which leads us to a point where it becomes counterproductive to the point where it may even be dangerous. And as an analogy, it's not a case of people are being taught to run before they can crawl. It's a case of before they can even crawl, they're put into a high-performance sports car and said, I'd like you to take it around the Nürburgring and set a new lap record. And that's just not going to work. But fortunately, you guys know a lot more about this stuff than I do, so you can maybe bounce off that and fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah, first off, let me just say this. I think I see a lot of instructors now starting to move into the farming community. Everybody now wants to help the farmers. I've been in that industry for 24 years, and if you don't have something to supplement your income, you're going to end up poor. Okay. So if you think you're going to make money off teaching farmers, then just think again, because that shit's not going to happen. That's the first part of it. I think let's start off, Shalto, maybe you can shed some light there. Why do we, as instructors, prefer people to go on a leveled training scenario, where there's a level 1 and then a level 2 and then a level 3 and then and?
Well, the levels are clearly cut out there for you to progress. I don't want to promote my school, but at the end of every level 1, 2, and 3, I have them shoot a test, just to run through what I taught them during the day. And then if you don't pass that test, well, you're not qualified to go on to the second test and the second level. So the reason for this is a lot of guys phone me and they say, yeah, but they got the basics, they got the front side, the back side, they know where the magazine well is and know how to do a mag change, and, they fire at least 50 rounds, in a month. And then you sort of get a feeling of the guy knows what he does or what he's doing. And then he gets onto the range and, yeah, it was all talk, and then he wants to go on to level 3, where on level 3 it's an introduction to tactical, where I actually give you a blue gun and we go into a kill house, and there's no live fire whatsoever, purely because if something goes wrong on the day, it's not, we shift paperwork back and forth, somebody dies, it turns into a very bad day. And I feel the industry is pushing tactical more because that's what the demand is, and I can understand that from a farmer's point of view. They're in trouble and they need tactical training, but that sort of stuff needed to be in place, years ago. The farm murders were or they were in trouble a long time before now. You needed to have your place in order before you're doing tactical. But moving in and around vehicles, and muzzle sweeping and stuff like that, that's very dangerous. And I don't feel that if you're not running through the levels, you don't understand your weapon as yet on that level, on that tactical level. That's my point of view.
Yeah, if I can just maybe fill in there, because what we've seen, and I'm going to cite an example now from our lone operator course, where we've got people where we actually do that. We progress through levels. That's why the course is such a long course, because we progress through levels. But there's such a big focus and emphasis on the fundamentals of shooting before you start moving. So eventually we start moving, but just doing stuff like prone and supine and those kind of things. And what happened is we had an ND. For those who don't know, we call it a negligent discharge. And that ND was brought on purely by pressure that was put onto the group throughout the day. Okay, so by the time this guy had the ND, he was tired, he was hungry, he was sweating, he just had it. All right, because he was rolling around in the dust the whole day with all his kit on and so forth. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is if you've never been in a shooting, and specifically where things are going with regards to farms now, where you get attacked, the guys start shooting when they approach your house. They don't break into your house and then start shooting. They started shooting from outside. So it's becoming much more orchestrated. Now, the moment you start getting into a situation like that, then the pressure really starts pushing. You've got pressure on you like you will never have in your life again. And the thing that will save you then is the fundamentals: grip, sight, squeeze. Do I actually, can I get that gun out? Can I get my sight picture? And can I hit the target? So if I don't focus on that and I start moving around, then I start teaching people bad habits. So by the time they start moving into houses and stuff, then they don't know how to grip the gun properly. They don't know how to do the sight picture or the sight alignment properly. They don't know how to do the trigger squeeze and so forth. And that to me is the issue. So I just want to give this as a word of warning to the audience out there, to the public out there. Don't, as Gideon said, don't get into that sports car before you can walk, before you understand vehicles, before you know how to drive, because that's going to cost you. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to get into that situation, the shit's going to go down, you're going to start rolling around, jumping up and down, and you're going to empty 5 magazines with 0 hits. Because you're gonna just fuck it up totally. You're gonna mess up all the shot placements. You're just gonna mess it up, and then that's pointless. Shooting 100 rounds with no hits means absolutely zip. And I think that's my issue, with this currently.
And you also got farmers, coming from tactical training, coming to a level 1 course and saying, I've got tactical training, but I can't shoot the target,
yes,
or I can't get a decent grouping. So it's got that level of understanding, but it doesn't mean anything, like you're rightly saying now. He's wasted his money, in my opinion. First learn how to shoot accurately and then go on to the tactical training. And the levels are there or built that way to give you that slow progress and that pressure, voice, whistle, some guys do live fire, give you pressure, and we build it into stages, so that you can progress, so that you get used to that kind of pressure. It's unfortunately you have to walk through the levels, and you have to progress to that level of skill.
The thing that's stuck out to me a lot is a complete lack of body awareness that a lot of people have, in the sense of they don't know where their limbs are when they're busy performing a basic shooting exercise. And it's something that is not a firearm related skill only, but it definitely comes into play when you start doing way more complex tactical stuff and movement. Is if you can't unholster without looking at your holster, place a decent grouping at a decent distance, reload your firearm without looking at the gun and still looking and scanning at targets, clear malfunctions without staring at it all the time, and then reholster under control without looking at your holster, and then at the same time be able to move, find cover, concealment. That's probably closer to level 2, level 3 type stuff, is when you start moving to, you know, down on one knee or prone or around corners or things like that. But if you don't have basic body awareness and know where you are, what your situational awareness is in your environment, then that training is also useless to you, because you get to learn how to do a lot of cool movements, but none of that's going to be useful to you if you don't comprehend the overall bigger picture. And that feeds in with another thing that's free. People can achieve this for free. They don't need to spend money on it. Basic level of functional fitness and strength, the most basic stuff. I mean, if you're pitching there with COVID comorbidities, that you're about to, you know, you've had your third bypass or something, or you're not fitting into your pants, then none of the shooting related training is really going to help, because you're not fit enough to run 20 meters, let alone do a house penetration. It's like people are focusing on the gun and my super cool tactical training and my gear must solve all my problems. My actual level of proficiency, physical fitness and understanding, those things are tertiary considerations.
Now, Shalto keeps knocking all my posts, but I still like him, you know. Now, what you're saying is very important, Gideon. I think that's a part that people leaves out. People don't realize that the guys coming to kill you are actually professionals. You know, they are not fucking around. They've been doing this for, some of them maybe for 25 years, who knows, you know. But they've been doing it for a long time. You will not be the first person they fight or kill. You'll most probably be the 10th or the 15th person that they will fight or kill. So they're coming with a different mindset, they're coming with a different approach, and that is what they do on a daily basis. So if I'm to step into the ring in 2 months' time with Mike Tyson, as I'm sitting here currently, he will just kill me. You know, it'll be the end of it. So it's no point me telling everybody, but I used to fight in the World Champions, and I used to do, because now he's going to kill me. So I'll have to prepare for that. And I think that's what people need to realize, is that you can't do a course and then just walk away from it. You need to stay up to date, and you need to stay focused and training, and you need to prepare for that day when these guys come for you. You know, how fit are you? How strong are you? As you say, are you aware of where everything is, and so on and so forth. I think that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Shalto?
Yeah, I also think one other concern that I also have is your level of instructor. I see a lot of new instructors coming through the ranks, you know, and I some of the stuff I can't agree with. You know, it's I don't know where they come up with these things. If you look on the internet, it's fine. You know, I also do research. I also look at the internet and stuff, but you know, you can't go into a training scenario. Where did you learn these things? Okay? What are you teaching? What is your background? Where do you come from? Was it your occupation? Was it your career? You know, it's like you say, you know, it was a salesman, and now, you know, his wife needs 15,000 rand more a month, and now he's becoming a firearms instructor. I'm being silly now, but you know, you can't teach people tactics, and you basically learning yourself. You know, either stop where your proficiency is, you know, and refer the guy to a guy that's tactically trained and is operational, you know, because it's at the end of the day, it's your life. My point being this, I think marketing is a huge thing. Guys give a lot of money to marketing guys, and they look cool. But what is your background? Where do you come from? You know, were you in the SEPs? Were you operational with them? I'm not saying it's the be all and end all. You know, you can be a good instructor with sports and stuff like that. But when it comes to tactics, were you in teams? Did you work in that scenarios? You know, that's also a concern.
Yeah, I think on that point, you know, Tacticool has become a thing. The kit, we've had this discussion many times before. I see guys training with vests and belts on, and then the pouches are empty. And I can clearly see that that's a fucking marketing ploy, you know. It's just to put it on pictures to say that we are wearing that shit. If you train the way you're gonna carry, then make sure that you've got the right shit on your kit, you know. Then train like that. Then it's fine. I've got no issue. I've got no issue with people training with vests and that. That's fine. But don't train with empty pouches, because what are you doing, you know? Because then you're going to start rolling, and you're not going to realize that putting shit into the pouch on your hip is going to fuck you up when you really roll. You know, where's your gun? We've had this discussion, you know, carrying appendix versus carrying 3 o'clock, or in my case, 7 minutes past 3. Just because when you roll, you know, and so forth. The thing I want to try to say is that I think Tacticool has become a thing. So guys would spend money on kit and buy kit and start training with kit. You know, they've got to have the right pants and the right shoes and the right this and this. And Gideon, I think we had this, you had a post the other day which I commented on, and with regards to the guy with the slops training. And then when you put in some context, obviously I was wrong at the end of the day with what I said, but it obviously went to shit, as it usually does with me.
No, there's Facebook posts always go to shit. Always.
Yeah, but I mean, once I'm in there, it's just always going to shit. That's just what that's a given. But so I want to use 3 guys as an example without them knowing it. And I know the issue is, you know, once they hear me say this, they'll most probably want to blitzen me. And I'm sure I can take them one-on-one if I see them coming. But if they all 3 come at one time, they're going to kill me. But Mark Iman, have you seen him on the range with that big fucking cricket hat of his, you know? He's the least tactical looking guy that I've ever seen. But I mean, he teaches such good stuff, you know. Mark to me is the exact example of that. Then obviously Leo Prinsloo, but I mean, he can't get away from his CV. But you see him on the range, he's just got his fucking gun and maybe one magazine, you know. He's got no other shit on him. He's just got... There's this one very old gun that's been used. I think he's used it to fucking moor people over the head with or something. But I mean, he's got that thing on him, and there's nothing tactical on him. And the other guy is Arno. I mean, Arno just shows up in his fucking t-shirt and shit, and that's what he do. But these guys teach gold, you know, what they teach. So the content is important. And I think the audience need to understand this. The instructor standing in front of you, does he look cool? Or is he actually teaching you value? Because I think that's the difference. You can get a lot of cool, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not saying, you know, anybody else is looking cool and so forth. But what I'm saying is just make sure that you can discern there. Am I sitting with a guy who's just got all the shit and all the kit on, but he's never actually, as Shalto says, used it in real life, you know, versus another guy who's there to actually give you value. And I think that's important to me, you know, teach value, teach the value.
That's it. And with regards to kit, and it's something that I actually, you've already kind of said it, but people buy the stuff. They don't use it. They don't train with it. They don't participate in any sort of activity with it. So they don't know if it actually works.
No.
And in a lot of the, I'd say not the majority, but a large degree of purchases, if the guy had to use it for 1 or 2 courses, he'd realize very quickly that my loadout is either, or my setup is shit, or it needs some changes or alterations, or there's something that's not quite optimal. And in some cases, a straight out discard. I mean, and the thing that people skimp on the most for some reason is holsters. Like, people would buy awful holsters. Then they would pitch up for a training course. Their performance would be hindered. Like, they already need to learn the basics, but they're not doing themselves any favors by pitching with a suboptimal holster, which is then just making their life miserable. Especially people that pitch up with soft canvas holsters or like really, really low quality leather ones. And even some low quality Kydex stuff. And you go, well, why did you spend 10K on a modern handgun? And then the device you carry it in, which is highly important, you don't even drop $300 to $400 on. And then let's not even talk about belts. The amount of people that come into the shop who complain about their holsters and they want a different holster, and I say, well, what holster do you have? And they explain, it's like, I don't think you've got a holster problem. What belt do you use? And the weirdest part about this is I didn't come across asking them about their belts because I had some method in my head, like, oh, that must be wrong. I was just genuinely curious because I didn't understand their problem because nothing they said made sense. Like, no, I wear this belt. And it's a thin little Mr. Price or Willie's like leather or canvas belt that's super flimsy. And you go, well, I think I may have found your problem and I don't think it's a holster problem. And then you give them a gun belt to wear and they're like, what sort of belt is this? I didn't know you had these belts. Like, no, that's your foundation of your carry setup, dude. Is that thing there. If you've got the wrong belt, you're not going to have a good time. And that's a level 1 level of understanding that's not present.
Correct.
So what do you see? Yeah. I'm just curious, morbidly curious. What sort of stuff do you guys see on these farmers courses? Because it must be interesting.
Am I allowed to say it in the public? Okay, this is really the stuff that I encounter, and I can bring my other instructors in on this. But this is sadly really the stuff that I encounter. I'm not talking old leather holsters. I'm talking leather holsters that are like material, so old. That's, they floppy like that. It's not a soft leather holster. It's a fucking wasted thing.
It's a chamois.
It's a chamois. Then obviously I see a lot of wrong firearms for wrong hands. Where you get people sitting with one of the best guns that we always get is the old baby Browning that was my grandfather's. And it's still in the family, and yes, it's still running and everything. But the moment you start going through some clearance drills with that thing, it becomes a mess. It becomes a total mess, okay? That's when we start, advising people to really start looking into a modern firearm for specific reasons. Keep that. That's a nice piece, memory to have of your grandfather. That's a good thing to have, but that's not a self-defense gun. Go and get yourself something proper, and we would make some suggestions towards that. Then obviously, just one magazine. A lot of guys only have one magazine. So need I explain, one magazine? People carrying revolvers. Now, I personally don't have any. I don't like to tell people to put down the revolver and buy a handgun. I know there's this whole thing going on. But if you do carry a revolver and you don't have speed loaders and you don't know how to use speed loaders, then you're also fooling yourself, because you're not going to shoot 5 or 6 shots. Okay, you're going to have to reload at least once, maybe twice in this fight. So that's where we are. So if you don't have speed loaders for that revolver and you don't carry them on you, then you're also fooling yourself. So then that revolver becomes useless. Okay. And then obviously the old thing, we've had this discussion when I had the panel discussion with the ladies, with with all the men trying to tell the ladies they must all have 38 special snubbies. Meh. Okay, I'm not going to even say anything about it. So that's the kind of things. And then obviously when it comes to application, what I see is typically that people don't know about sight picture. We had this exact incident, I can tell you this. We said, okay, you do 5 shots, 3 meters, own time on the target. Now they shoot. Boom, 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 boom. We give them a little dot, and that's where you shoot. Okay, application shoot. Okay, that means you need to understand the 7 fundamentals. That's easy. Next up, we say, okay, now we're going to draw from the holster and shoot. And this one lady, seriously, she says to us, let me just get my handbag. And I was like, why? Because that's where I carry my gun. So, okay. Now, this is the kind of stuff we encounter, is that people still carry their guns in the handbag or in the small of the back. And I understand why they do that, specifically if we talk about farmers. You know, if you have to be under the tractor and on the tractor and down and this, then obviously that thing becomes a hindrance. But that's when you obviously need to start looking at something like a Glock 43 or whatever, you know, and something smaller to carry with you so that you at least have something and then carry it correctly. Now, we can actually spend one whole day just on that, just sit down and talking through stuff like that. But the request we get is, come and do some tactical training for us. And that is my gripe with it. Now we show up there, and in our minds, we're going to do tactical training, meaning everybody's kit is sorted. Everybody's understanding of that kit is sorted. Everybody has got the fundamentals down to a T. If I put my 9 dots on the target and I ask them to do an application shoot, they're going to fucking do groupings like this, okay? They're going to do such groupings at 3 meters, but they don't, all right? And then now I can do tactical with you because you understand that. So I can understand, now we can start doing movement, which is only not even tactical, but now we can start doing movement and firing lines and so forth. So we show up there with the understanding of we should teach tactical, and then they've got none of the basics sorted. Then obviously there's no way I will teach you tactical stuff in that case, because you're going to shoot me, you're going to shoot the person next to you, and you're most probably going to shoot yourself on the same day. So yeah, that's the kind of shit that I do see on a weekly basis.
And there are so many fundamental drills out there that you can use as benchmarks for a person's ability. And if they can't pass the PAR test, then you kind of know, okay, they certainly aren't ready for anything more advanced than this. And the mindset part about it also bothers me. The average violent criminal in South Africa, they might not be particularly skilled with their equipment. They might not be useless, but let's be honest, they probably don't spend the same amount on the shooting ranges as the average person who takes the stuff really seriously does. The equipment is probably not in as good condition either from a lot of the recovery photos you see. But what the guy definitely does is he is not afraid of violence. He has no inhibitor to apply it, ultra violence from zero to 100% at the drop of a hat. And he might actually get off on it, as opposed to the average person being a bit sort of not okay with that sort of thing. And he's not too worried about his skills or his equipment because he's coming in with a mission to do damage. And unless your mindset from a defensive point of view is also sort of developed to the point where you are willing to go to the lengths required to fight back, you're not going to, like, the advanced tactics is not going to pay off for you anyway.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. If you take a level 1 where you put a little bit of pressure onto a person and you can see she or he starts to shake, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have. You can have the most expensive block and you can have the most expensive bulletproof and equipment. That guy's going to come to you with a lot of violence, and he's most probably going to win. And he's going to take away your firearm and shoot you with it. Okay. So, yeah, that being said, is on the levels, do we teach weapon retention? You know, we should be looking at that sort of stuff. Weapon retention, how to hide away your block your firearm, or how to use your firearm and block the attack, you know, and get your firearm into play. I think that's more important than a tactical train where we work as teams, because if we go tactical, in my mind, that's more into your teams, into your tactical teams, where your security guys are coming in, you know, they're doing house penetration and stuff like that. If you take the farmers and you do a little bit of house penetration with them, and you sort of just put up targets and you put up civilians, most of the time, and Gideon was with me on the one course where we did the night shoot, is most of the time, if they have a little bit of pressure, or you play AC/DC in the background in the kill house, you know, and scream at him and blow whistles and stuff, they just come around and they shoot. And what we've seen is, if we tell the farmer, you know, holster your firearm and let's go and look at what you've done, they shoot the hostage. So it's just run in and shoot, you know, because I want to clear this and I want to look cool. But they're actually not focusing on what they should be doing and where they should be shooting. So in my mind, once you in that position and you're doing that and you're shooting the wrong kind of target, we need to backtrack. And then we need to go to another course or a lower level course and run through that course again until you understand that basics, and then progress to tactics. Yeah.
I think another issue that I just maybe want to touch on is that's the issue I have with teaching tactical stuff to groups like CPFs, farm watches, neighborhood watches, and so forth. In a typical civilian setup, what happens is tonight it will be myself and Shalto, and we will go out on patrol. But tomorrow night it will be myself and Gideon. And the night after that it will be Shalto and Gideon. Now, if you look at a proper professional team that actually does house penetration, and I'm talking typically police, SWAT units, our own task force, any special forces, SAS, SBS, etc., etc. Then what you end up with a team of guys who live together, who eat together, who sleep together, who think together, who act together. And that to me is the most crucial element when you do any kind of house clearance. All right. So I don't want to use this as marketing, but seeing that we are here, Shalto and myself has got a course coming up for home defense, where we actually want the husband and wife as a team, because that makes sense in a civilian setup for me, because I will be in my house with my wife or my teenage son or my teenage daughter, whatever, and it will be up to us to defend ourselves. So the moment you go out to any group, CPF, Farm Watch, whatever, and you start teaching team tactics, then you lose that specific element. And to me, that's the basis of any teamwork. Because let's go to the farming setup. And I talk about the farmers, and not because I want to knock them, but because I've been in that industry for 24 years now. I've been farming myself, you know, so I understand the whole thing there. What typically happens, and I had to do a consultation once, or a test for a reaction test for a specific community, in conjunction with AfriForum and the police and whatever. And there was a fake farm attack, and we staged this whole thing, and we started, you know, checking who pitches up first and what's the response times and so forth. And you could see from the way the farmers started showing up on the scene, they started showing up one individually. Whereas the police showed up on the scene, you know, two guys maybe 3 guys, in some cases 4 guys in a vehicle. So the moment they got out of that vehicle, you had a team thing going. Whereas when the farmer showed up at the scene, it was him alone. Now, what I'm getting to is, why would you train these people in this whole, setup if they are not a reaction force? Only if you are a reaction force, you need to get that type of training. But I think people are starting to, everybody wants to get this training because it's looking cool. And we once again back to, are we not at a stage where tactical actually started becoming tacticool? And now everybody wants to do that, because I'm still standing by my point. If I'm being attacked and I can use cover effectively and I can shoot properly, I can take my handgun, I can grip, I can sight, I can squeeze, and I can place my shots, I will have a much better chance of surviving that than people starting to running around with trying to put on kit and whatever. It's about the guy getting off the shots and placing them on target. So I think what I'm trying to say is that we need to focus on reality, and we need to focus on basics. Can you fucking hit the target? And can you hit the target in the same spot again? And then can you move and hit the target in the same spot again? And then can you go down on one knee and hit the target in the same spot again? And then can you fall down on your back and hit the target in the same spot again? And people should also start training like that. They should start training like that and fucking just put in the time for that, because that's what's going to save you. You will be sitting home at night and they will attack you. The reaction team will be reacting, meaning it will take them on a farm setup at least 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to show up at your place, okay? In a town setup, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. But in 4 minutes, in 2 minutes, I can cut off your head completely. I can just look at the Taliban videos. They cut a head off from and stand with the thing in their hands under 2 minutes. So who has to stop that attack in that first 2 minutes? Only you. So you get back to that point, Gideon, that you're always on about. You are your first responder. Sorry, I'm waffling here. Shalto, what do you want?
No, that's exactly it.
The other thing that farmers, or not just farmers, let's get away from that. But I see on the range is Pete and Yanni, they work well together and they understand the teams, and they operate very well. But Yanni goes into his home afterwards, and Pete stays at his home. Yep. So what I would say, if you want to be effective and you want to be a good team at home and actually deter a attack, then get your wife involved with being tactical. If you want to go that route, being tactical in the team, in the house, get your team as a wife and husband team. Get kids to phone, the police. Get that 10-111 drilled into their heads, or phone a family member. Get your house in order so that you can have that 5 or 7 minutes if the attack keeps on for that long. Until help arrives. Join a CPF, train, get the CPF needs to be trained, or the AfriForum guys need to be trained and need to work in a team, but they need to be like you say, Dion, they need to live together. If Jan and Pete work together every single time they go out shooting, put Sonny with it, like break it up and turn. So the whole team, my point being this, the whole team needs to, it doesn't matter where you put me, I'm comfortable, and inside the house, your wife needs to be your team member. And we keep on forgetting that because we still want to be that Rambo type of person. It's like, I'm the provider, I'll protect you. What we keep on forgetting is the modus operandi now is they walk past your wife, they walk past your kids, they go straight to the husband, and they attack him. Okay, and then after they get him under control, they go back to the wife. So now that's your golden opportunity. If your wife is trained in self-defense or with a knife or with a firearm, that's the golden opportunity to either just get the wife and kids out of the house and leave you there. My wife would do that, but that's your golden opportunity to basically get the assault turned onto your advantage. So we keep on forgetting those type of things. Get the wife and the family involved, and get your neighborhood watchers trained up so that they can work as teams if we want to go that route. That opens up a whole different conversation again. What is their mandate to do such things? And, when do you call the police and stuff like that? I think that's a whole different discussion. But my point being, let's get your wife and the family involved in your whole plan.
Well, I think that kind of summarizes the whole issue for me. And from my point of view, is I think that the absolute critical, vital importance of fundamental skills are severely misunderstood and underestimated. And that if the general public just perceives how it's not just a foundation for stuff that comes later, and it is, and it needs to be rock solid before you can start advancing into any sort of more advanced training. But if you are in a violent confrontation and your fundamentals are solid, that is a highly important skill set right there. You know everything you need to know to fight effectively. Tactics and tactical training and this sort of stuff just enhances that core of skills that you already have. If your mindset is good, if your equipment is decent, and very importantly, if your fundamentals and your training of those fundamentals are down to pat, you have got a really good chance of winning that fight. If you then add tactics and stuff to it later, you enhance it. But I'm going to probably be controversial in saying it. Any tactics you add on is probably not going to be remotely as useful to you as a absolutely firm, solid core of fundamental skills.
I totally agree on that. Well, guys, I think let's cut it short here. We can discuss some more stuff on another day. We'll see which instructors now listen to the end, because they will start having courses for husband and wife teams now. Check, Killer Poppy. We're checking you guys out. No, let's teach more people. That's fine. I don't care. Steal my ideas. That's fine. Let's teach more people, but let's teach people correctly. Shalto, Gideon, thank you from my side for your guys' time and your input. I think we can take another discussion some other day.
Fantastic. I'd love to have another one. I'm open next week, so please let me know.
Great stuff.
Great stuff.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shalto. All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Dankie, Dion. Dankie, Shalto.